Oh, hello, my sweet. So won't you come with me? There's so much to show in this grimdark distillery. So if you like bullshit or want some hobby tips, this nightmare priest and binary herald magnificent welcomes you. Good morning. Good morning, Posson. How are you, my sweet? Welcome, welcome. I'm going to do a little bit of picking up here real quick. I've been doing a little bit of chopping and gluing and all that biz, as they say. All this super glue. Oh no! My things! So here's a little bit of fun info that anybody may one day use, or use if you find this. So Greeblin and Grebo X1Cs from Bamboo Lab. In the event, awesome screaming duppy. Nice. In the event that you have a power fluctuation, as in all the power in your house flickers for like a second, they just kind of lose their minds and they just stop doing what they're doing, and they're just like, power is unstable. You need to turn it off. You need to turn it off, like all the way. And then wait a second and then turn it back on and it'll fix itself. I didn't know, because pretty much the site walking you through how to do it does not have much at all. But they're smart, so they pick back up from where they were. Grebo did not. Grebo, I was trying to figure out, oh shit, what the hell do I do? So I'm gonna put these cones up and put that cap up too. I don't know why I even keep these out. I never put the cap back on because the cheap ass super glue just leaks so much that it's just like, if I put the cap back on, it's not coming back off. So, oh boy, the cones drawer is getting pretty full. Gonna have to start using some cones. Gonna have to start doing some cones of, is it Duncanshire? I don't know. Anywho, I hate that, like, when I explain to people like, oh yeah, this is what I was gonna go do, that's what they jump to, is like, oh, you're gonna be Adam Scott and just go crazy. No. So, to explain what happened, I'll show this. That's stupid. Hold on. I'll show this. That line right there. Pretty much what I had to do was figure out where it stopped printing and then cut the model and print from there. So, whereas this side, the corner does not. That's what Greeblin was printing. But yeah, this is the castle set, city wall set from 3D Layered Scenery, the Aise-Faire, or the Easy-Faire. I believe it's Aise-Faire. I believe it is a reference to French, or it is a French name. But yeah, that is what this is. So essentially I'm printing this out so we can play through Rothenburg. I'm really excited about it because I've really been wanting to play this since it came out, but I waited to get all the stuff so I could pretty much then go and start really hamming up 1490 locally, and also at other places. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing at events next year, but I'm going to be there and I'm going to be doing things. So I don't know if I'm going to do any classes. I don't really want to teach. I like doing that on here in a much less formal setting, and also where everyone can see it. I think that's kind of what I like to do. I don't know, which I was thinking about that. And I was going to talk on that for just a second. I don't ever want to be dismissive of anybody's work. So hopefully it doesn't come off like that. But there's just so many people that do make art and express themselves in such different ways that I don't ever want it to seem like I'm writing off anybody else's work. I don't think I've done that, but just to cover my bases, because I was just thinking about that yesterday pretty heavily. Yeah, takes all kinds. Everybody does things differently. Yeah. So with all that said, I'm going to start on grief. And I'm trying to think of where we want to start with grief today. Probably those fingies, but I don't know if that's really the best choice. The fingies, his legs are going to be so good. The feet, I know I'm going to change the feet out for these feet. I'm just debating if I want to do the legs too. I don't think I do. I think I like the legs as they are, very floppy, like broken sausages, like that. That's really, I didn't want to get too defined with the bones. So I think I'm going to leave them as is. It's going to have skin around it as well, so they're not going to be too visible. But the feet absolutely need to be switched out with the skeleton feet, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that right now. And then I might actually do the nails in the feet and in the hands and start working on hands. Hands feels like it's a good choice for today. And I need to cover that green stuff with some things. Scraps and what have you. Huh? Did I just grab 2 left feet? No. Okay. There was about to be a joke there. Oh, grief. He's got 2 left feet. I'm really excited to work on the face, but I'm just trying to hold back. Not yet. So, excuse me, Signor Grief. We're going to go ahead and take these little piggies. 1 set of piggies. Okay, well, I'm realizing now that we're missing a... Where did I just put those? I'm going to check these other feet, make sure they... Nope. Okay, I'm starting to remember now. I think that there was something wrong with this model, that it did not... Because again, it was not made. It's super low poly, so... that's why I'm going to be sketching, sculpting over it. But... Oh my goodness. Perfect. Yeah, that's gonna be great. Look at those piggies go. Alrighty. Cut that little nib off of there and off of here. It's very funny that I now have, like, if I keep my tool little box open, I'm just gonna show you because, yeah, if I keep my toolbox open, this is just staring at me. Just Gage, just looking at me very judgmental. No gods, no mods. I'm on my own. But we'll make it work. There, that's good. Also, I think I figured out hey, how do you manage to go from the studio to the shop and not have to change your cameras and all this shit? Maybe use the other camera that you bought, dummy. Maybe that's the thing you should do. That's what I'm going to do. So, and I'm saying it, but I'm just like, man, maybe I do want to... I think I do. I think I want to switch out these legs for the bones. That way I can make them really thin. But I'm not sure. They're not as long. That's for sure. Maybe down here. I actually think that looks kind of right. The kneecap's right there. No, fuck it. We're gonna stick with this. I like this better. And the feet, though, I definitely do want to switch out. So we're gonna put a hole in there. And I'm going to use a hand vise because I do not want to destroy this very fragile resin. And this is a little dip right here that it absolutely does not need to be structurally sound. So as long as I do it slowly, I can go through there. And I am also not using the Dremel. So the resin fragments that are coming off of here are not going to be airborne. They're just very, very thin there. Still don't need to breathe it in, but just for safety's sake and clarification for anyone watching, I am factoring that. I'm not drilling resin in the way that we typically mean when we say if you drill resin, you need to make sure you have a mask on, or sand resin. That's if you're making resin into a small enough particulate that it can be inhaled, that's when you need to put a respirator on, which mine's right there. I keep it on the outside of my spray booth. I am going to do a tour of my shop at some point. I'll probably have Sam help me with that if he is up for it. Where did my nails go? Here they are. Nails and O-rings. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, we're gonna put the nails in the hands, we're gonna put the nails in the feet today. We're gonna be nailing the boy up. Okay. Now here's the fun thing though. We are going to have to cut that nail and put it in backwards. Because, and that is not, this is epoxy sculpt, so no resin here. Man, I love epoxy sculpt. Shout out to Aves Clay. They make my favorite clay. Again, I've not tried, it's the same thing. I'm really excited about my hand vise that's coming in today. My vise is coming in today. I ordered a vise from Distillery, and it should be here today. I'm really excited because constantly small bits fly off of my needle nose pliers, which I use for damn near everything. And now that I'm doing commissions regularly and I'm wanting to do this, I have to have tools that respect my time and my money. So which, full disclosure, I did reach out. I think I mentioned this already, but if I did not, I did reach out to Display about like representing the brand or possible sponsorship, because I absolutely love their tools. They make stuff that is up to my standards, which are obscenely high. But I'm a very blunt person, so that too. I mean, it's what I love. So I want to champion people who make Turbo Dork and Buer Games. Which, shout out to my boys Buer Games. I saw what you fucking did, and I'm very proud of you. They posted a thing this morning on an update, releasing all of the stats for all the Doom Warriors, except for those that are from like expansions, special characters, which makes sense. Again, I can't stress that enough. Like, they are releasing them all to where they are available for free for everyone instead of coming with their cards, which is just the right move. And I'm very proud to say, yep, those are my buddies. Good on you. I had not thought about that because I've not even begun to think about that aspect of it. But that absolutely is the right thing to do. I urge other companies to, follow their example. Because that is really the thing. Everyone is very focused on how to get sticky customers, as they like to call it. And the way that you do that is by being a real human and being able to relate to them and not being a lizard person that does not have any fucking feelings and doesn't see people as anything other than a paycheck. And if I sound like I'm very angry talking about that, it's because I am. Marketing is pretty much one of the most fucked up industries out there. And the entire basis of it is essentially using your brain against you to make you spend money on things that you don't need. That's why it's being marketed. So yeah, I think the best kind of marketing is transparency and just stating what you're about. So brands that fucking I think are rad, I want to showcase and support them. Oh God, he's on to me. No, of course not, Possum. Oh yeah, no, that's good. That's gonna look good. Go ahead, put that there. But yeah, very stuck about that. But yeah, I reached out to Display because they are a brand that I love, because they make high quality tools at a obscenely affordable price. Like after going back and looking at like the rest of the stuff on their website, it's crazy. I can't justify spending a few dollars less on something that isn't from them versus just a couple dollars more to get something from them. Everything on their site, after looking at it again, is it very much, it's just the same kind of vibe as I get from Bandai's Gundam kits. Like they could charge more, but they don't, because they don't need to. And that is something that I fucking stand with very hard. I don't know. It really, I don't want to put my name on shit that I literally cannot afford to have my name solely by other people's shit. So it's just like, if I want to ride with someone's product, I want everyone that, you know, that likes my work to know that the reasons why I do. My opinions cannot be bought. I like what I like, and I'll explain the good and the bad. So yeah, I'm hoping to hear from them, because I think we could help each other. Rewatched the Hathaway movie last night. Pretty excited for the next one. Oh yeah, no. I really liked Hathaway, and I also really liked that it reinforces the idea that Bright is the main character of Gundam, like you see. And I didn't really think that until I saw Unicorn. But I absolutely like the payoff of watching like 20, 30, way more than that. Let's see, when 79 is OG Gundam. Fuck, like 50 years worth of story. Almost pretty much coming like, oh, okay, I get it. Bright's the main character. But it's so wild because like you watch him go from being like pretty much a kid himself, that's in charge of White Base, to being the dude, and him having to interact with these extremely rash children, and put his like faith and like trust in them and like try to be a good human, is just such a wild story that I did not expect. But in Unicorn, he talks about Camille, and he talks about Amuro, and the amount of young people that he has met that he's just like, no, I think you know what you're talking about, because they are just different. And it's just a very, I did not see that coming, but fuck, man, it hit hard when it did, because it's just like, holy shit. And I'm not going to spoil alert anything for anyone, but man, Zeta is the darkest Gundam. It is so fucked. It's not visually like, oh, Requiem has the grimdark aesthetic. Zeta is grimdark to its bones. It could be, and I mean that like in the same way of Midsommar. Like Midsommar is really bright, but it's a fucking horror movie. Zeta is grimdark as it gets. The themes and the everything that happens is just the most, like, it's so dark, so metal. And then it just ends on like a straight up like Berserk Golden Age arc ending, where you're just like, that's the end? I don't think I'm gonna be okay. Man, coffee's great when it's not cold, I tell you what. I tell you what. Sorry for the little rant. I'm kind of in a good mood today, so I'm just kind of yapping. Almost done with this commission, and then I will be on to the third one, which means we get to do some Trench Crusade, BB. And I'm really excited. Get it. Welcome, Kyle. Good to see you. I haven't watched Z or ZZ, but I've somewhat osmosis the plot through Super Robot Wars. I've not watched ZZ. I tried to start it. I could not. The animation is... That's the line. That's the line for me. I love Gundam. There's some Gundam. G-Fighter's not allowed in my house. Like, we don't talk about that. I'm going to have to bless this room again. I just mentioned its name. Yeah, we don't talk about G Gundam in this house. No matter how much Sam and my buddy Tyler want to talk about it, it's just is what it is. But yeah, ZZ Gundam. I tried because, man, there's a lot of... The thing is, though, what you miss between ZZ and Char's Counterattack, it's not very much. I wasn't like, man, who are these guys? It's just like, oh, yep. Which Char's Counterattack's great. I had never seen it whenever it initially, came to the U.S. I wanted to save myself until I had watched everything that I needed to watch. So that took a while. ZZ, wait, but Burning Finger, yeah, Burning Finger. Is that what he says? Or is that just what it sounds like he says in Gundam Assault 2? Are those pins in the skull something that stays? Yes. So the nails are there. Nails are staying, essentially holding it in a awful rictus grin, and it's blinded. It has blinded itself. So yeah, they are gonna be there. I'm gonna sculpt the skin around the nails to where it's pulled nice and tight. And then I'm going to go in, and the eyes are probably going to be leaking, like pure black, from their eyeball holes. It's going to be real metal. He's also going to get a whole bunch of little bells and stuff. It's like the main move from G Gundam, the hand of mine glows from an awesome power. Yeah, so I couldn't remember if he actually said Burning Finger, or if he said something less goofy. Because I can only hear it from Gundam Assault and like Gundam Assault 2, the old PlayStation fighting games. But man, speaking of which, those, I have a friend his last name's Proctor, and every time you shoot the Buster Cannon from Wing Zero in that game, he says Buster Rifle, but it sounds like he says Proctor Rifle. And we used to just say that all the time, Proctor Rifle. But yeah, Proctor Rifle, Burning Finger, all that jazz. I loved those games. The old 2D fighting games. That's not where a nail goes. Put a nail in the foot, it goes, yeah, no, it goes right there. Okay, no, I got it right. Because if you put it down through there, it would just split. It would just split the toes. Nope. Gonna have to make that hole bigger. Go ahead and put these feet on there, and then we're gonna start sculpting on the hands. I don't know. I might be getting a little ahead of myself. I've got that ready. I'll do that later. I kind of want to put some clay on those fingies. Here's my clay. Hey, Clay. So for the longest time, I did not have any friends who were named Clay, so I didn't have the opportunity to say, hey, Clay. But that is a reference to my favorite Vince Vaughn movie, Clay Pigeons. I think it's his first. If it's not, it's like second, like right when he was nobody. But there is a scene in that movie that I laughed at, and so did my roommate, and then my wife when we made her watch it. But there's a scene. it's an old movie. I'm not going to give. No, fuck it. Slight spoiler alert. If you have any, it's not even a spoiler. It's the main theme. So, the main character's name is Clay. It's called Clay Pigeons. And he essentially meets a serial killer, who is Vince Vaughn. And I cannot stress enough, it's my favorite character Vince Vaughn has ever played because it is the most un-Vince Vaughn character I've ever seen. He's just a guy, but he's got a cowboy hat and he has this real southern drawl. But there's a scene where he's just like, all right, Clay, meet me out at the lake in the woods. I'll be there at this time. And at this point, Clay knows he's a serial killer and he's really afraid of him. And he's just sitting there and he's like looking, just waiting in the dark. And then you just see Vince Vaughn's face just come in behind me. Hey, Clay. Just right in his ears. And it's just, I think of that every time I say the word Clay. I'm just like, hey, Clay. It's just very good. It's just the worst way that you would ever like. And of course he's like, oh my God, what's wrong? He's like, I didn't want to scare you. Don't be serial killers, but that's a very funny character. Just from that. I need to put more of the wood on, but I am going to wait until the fingers are done. And I might want to actually, no, I'll go back in with another layer because I don't think the nails are small enough to let me do what I want. No, they're not. No cat nails on this one. That'll be for something bigger with actual meaty hands big enough to put some claws in. I need something big enough to use some cat claws on. I've been saving them. Watching the full animations every single time you attack in Super Wars kind of rocks. Doing the new Gundam all range attack and it's like 2 minute animation. That does sound really sick. Yeah. Dude, new Gundam. I love new Gundam. After like, as far as like real Gundams, Barbados is not a... Barbados defines like, and that's why it's probably my favorite. It does not have the design aesthetic. It does not have the same language, the design language as Gundam. The only thing it has really in common is the big V and the colors. But besides that, it could be any other kind of mech and it would fit. And I wouldn't be like, that's just a Gundam. What are you doing? So it's kind of it's my favorite in the sense that it's a demon machine, but also there's all kinds of reasons why I love Barbados. And the fact that it just has a big club, it doesn't use any like advanced, it's super advanced, but it doesn't use really advanced weaponry. It just uses a giant bludgeoning club. I just love that. But as far as Gundams and design, New Gundam is so good. It is like the pinnacle of like, yep, you guys got it. I don't know if they're ever going to make it just regular Gundam that really reads as a Gundam that I think is as well designed as it. And I cannot even begin to stress how stoked I am that they are finally making a perfect grade, which I've been waiting for years. I'm really not excited about the price because that really makes it not something that's like actually on my list of like, yeah, I'll probably get that. It's just more of a maybe one day. Insanely expensive. And also the fact that it's a perfect grade unleashed. So it's got like insane amounts of hyper detailing. You literally build every aspect of it from like a mechanical standpoint, which that is really cool. I've said before about, different kits and what I would recommend. The perfect grade unleashed RX-79, RX-78. Yeah, RX-78. Why did I say 79? RX-79 is, that's the ground Gundam. RX-78G is the OG Gundam. Oh, I also really like Perfect Gundam, but Perfect Gundam is not in anything outside of Thunderbolt. It is a, it's so good. It's the Psycho Zaku frame. The Psycho Zaku is so good. Talking about how metal Thunderbolt is. In order to pilot a Psycho Zaku, you have to be a full amputee because it requires the nerve endings from all of your limbs to be directly interfaced with it to make it to where you can move just like it's your body, which is why Daryl Lawrence, who was not a full amputee, was the perfect candidate because they only had to cut X amount of limbs off of him. So yeah, it's real dark. It's real dark. Thunderbolt is really, really grim. It's very in your face grim. Zeta Gundam is like underlying grim. Like, man, this is messed up. You have to think about it, and then when you think about it, you're like, I don't think I feel good about that. It's too much. Which also, man, letting Sam, I can't recommend if you're just like, oh, I just saw a thing about being able to make your own kit with its own custom box at some Gunpla Factory in Japan. What? That's nuts. That's awesome. That sounds so rad. Yeah, that gets me real pumped. That's so rad. Man. I love Gundam. For a while, I was really, really, really close to getting the OG Grandpa Gundam, the RX-78 tattoo on my arm because it absolutely is the. If you like giant robots, you owe a thank you to Gundam. No matter which giant robot influenced you, because it influenced giant robots. It's essentially where we got Transformers from. I don't know if Voltron predates it. I would have to look. I don't want to say anything incorrect, but I know Transformers directly were a Americanized, pretty much concept that took off after Gundam's release in Japan. So I don't know. It's just the lineage that it has, and that what it has given to things that I love. Like, I'm just very appreciative of, and that's why, despite it being one of the most basic designs, I have so many different versions of it because I love what it gave me. I appreciate the design and how much of an impact it has had on my life because of the other people that it impacted and what they created from it. And there is something really beautiful in that, I think. Meaning, purpose, and the fact that it was not, that wasn't their intention, but I love being able to see that and reference it and kind of pay homage to it any way that I can. But after thinking about it long enough, I thought, if anything, if I was going to get a Gundam tattoo, I would want it to be one that meant something like personally to me, and it would probably be Daryl's radio, because it's just, man, that Thunderbolt is such a good story. It poses a lot of pretty heavy questions, and the characters are just utterly human. I just really like it. Big fan. Really recommend Thunderbolt, especially the manga, which I'm sure you can find for free online. If you're trying to buy them, I'll just let you know right now, just accept that you won't have number 4. But luckily it's covered in the OVAs. Number 4, unless you want to spend like $150 on eBay, like, it's just out of print. So that's the only one that I don't have. I used to be about that life, spending crazy amounts of money on books. I'm looking at you, Realm of Chaos, and Space Hulk campaigns. But yeah, I don't do that anymore. Yeah. one finger. Ah, ah, ah. Wham. Wham. Come on. Clay went down this little rock. Okay, that's fine. I guess you're going to be down there now. Nope, I got it. Ah, get on there. This needs some Nivea. So, sculpting. One of the most useful things to have around you while sculpting is lubricant. Why is that one so expensive? Because it's out of print and people are price gouging. They're, I think, $10, like between $10 and $14 when they come out. However, because it has not been printed. Now, why that one in particular, I don't know. I don't know why number 4. I'm guessing 1 through 3 probably they printed more of, but maybe 4 is just like the point where they're like, people might have dropped it, so we won't make as many. I don't know. But that is the only one that I ever had a hard time getting, and I'm like not the only one. But yeah, people are just price gouging because there's a finite number of them. Now, if you can speak or read Japanese, you do not have that issue. But if you're wanting it in English, yeah, in Japanese, they're all over the place. But I do not read Japanese. And if I have to get my phone out to read the book, which I'm not opposed to that. I do it all the time while putting together models. Which, oh boy, I gotta say, if you really want me to enjoy your kit, it being difficult enough that I need to follow instructions is something that will definitely make me giddy. And yeah, there are absolutely some kits out there from Bandai that it's just like, I have literally no idea what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like, what is the expectation? Which again, I've ranted and raved about this before, but I'll do it again because it's been a while. The hands of like the Verika kits and a couple of the other ones, there is a hand. I might have to go grab one. No, I'm going to work on grief. I'm not going to get distracted. The hands are one of the most nuts things that I have ever seen from a engineering standpoint. Like, the level of thought that went into them is so high that it's just like, it almost seems like black magic. But it is a fully functional, articulated hand that comes on a sprue. And that may not seem very impressive, but the amount of thinking to make a finger, a single finger, move and be bendable in a mold is insane, because you have to factor in air pockets, you have to factor in so many things for it to be able to actually function. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I couldn't even understand the first time like I put one together. I was like, how does this even, what? But it's just like, yeah, Bandai has been doing this shit for decades. They are the masters of model design. They started printing, or making sprues that were different colors, like different colored, like double layered sprue pores 50 years ago or 40 years ago, like around the 80s. 80s, 90s, is I think whenever I saw, no, 90s. 90s or 2000, actually. Fuck. No, it's only about 20 years. But still, fuck, that's nuts. But yeah. And that's nuts in the sense that it's just like that's not something you just do unless you kind of give a shit about what you make. And I really value that. I really like when I can tell that someone else who understands how to make things cares about what they make and thinks about the people that are going to use the thing, because so many people do not. They just think about the end result and the payoff and that kind of stuff, and to fully like really appreciate what you're getting with that, I don't know, it's just, yeah, I'm always just really excited when I see someone that cares about something as much as I do. No, from like a financial point, they have to, because there's no other reason you would do that kind of shit, and then charge less money than you could if you wanted to, unless you really cared about your product and about the people that like your products. So hence why I hit up Disbay. I'm not so much like, oh hey, send me free stuff. It's more, I really like their brand. I think that we have the same goals, and I would like to help in any way that I can make them. I would like to help them make better tools for all of us at reasonable prices. I feel like that's good. That's a brand that I want to put my name with. There are plenty of other brands out there that you could not pay me enough money to put my name on it. Disbay, I'm happy to reach out and be like, hey, I love your stuff. I came really close to buying a bunch of their knives and stuff, but I was like, I do need another. I still haven't found my knife. I don't know where it is. I feel like it's upstairs, and I just keep forgetting every time I go up there to look. But I'm not sure. I'm going to zoom in on this little hand so you can see kind of what I'm doing while I'm sculpting. There we go. It's a hand. Wham. Grief. Yeah. Had my coffee a little bit earlier today. Tuesdays I get started a little bit earlier. Yeah. I think I just heard a little fluffy baby jump out of a cat tower from upstairs. I heard a loud ka-thump. Now I hear the floors creaking, so yeah, I think someone's coming to pay me a visit. Which of my kids? Yeah, sorry if I'm all over the place with my talking today. Just yapping away. Like always. I'm a yapper. Come on, fingers. That is another reason I'm like, yeah, I really kind of want to get these fingers sculpted on, is they're going to be wiggly because they're just a piece of metal until I get them properly anchored. And also, the hands need to be made. So, there are hands to be made. That is awful looking. Awful fingers. Super glue. Wham. Wham. Tweezers? Yes, tweezers. Right there? Yeah, right there. Oh boy, Grief, you got some awful fingers. The better to tell really good jokes with. Everybody loves grief jokes. But yeah, okay. That's what we're here for, the yapping. Ha! I had my suspicions. I was like, what if people actually like when I yap? And I just think they don't because of me issues. Yep. But yeah, I'm really excited to see the hand vise when it gets in. I'm thinking it should make a very big difference in the amount of stuff I can get done because I won't be throwing parts all over my shop anymore. I have another vise, but it's a desk, like a bench vise, and it's just not. This one essentially would double function almost because it has a little base that can sit on the desk, so you do not have to constantly hold it. Whereas the one that I have is actually a desk clamp vise, which I can show that. And I've used it heavily, but it is nowhere near as convenient, and it's not as conducive to showing what I'm working on, especially because it has to be clamped to the edge of the desk. So then I would really kind of have to change my camera setup. And also, every time I want to move the piece, it's a process. It's not as easy of a pick up, do a little change, take it out. Like it's a little more intense because it's made for bigger stuff. So, and I can show that. I don't remember what brand it is. I don't remember where I even got it from. I feel like I might have gotten it from Micromark, which Micromark makes a lot of good tools as well. But they also sell a lot of other brand stuff. I know they sell Proxon stuff, but they're very much like, they're the kind of people that make mini table saws, like miniature table saws, which is an insanely dangerous thing. And I'm really glad I never bought one. I came really close. There was a couple times scratch building stuff that I was like, I think I need a mini table saw. And it's just like, you know, I'm thankful every day that I've got my fingers. I feel like that might not have been the case if I had made that purchase. Because again, yeah, it is not like, oh, it's kind of like, nope, it's just straight up table saw, but really small. Yeah, like I think it's maybe a 4-inch blade. But again, it's a table saw, so it's just like, you could absolutely cut your fingers off with that. And having known someone who cut their fingers off with a saw and then had crooked fingers, and they were lucky. They were lucky to get fingers back. I don't want to do that. I like having them. They're pretty handy. And then Kelly always says, well, what if you could get robot hands? And it's just like, that's not... If the option was, if I lose my hands, I just get a robot hand, I wouldn't have hands. I would have robot hands. That's the choice. Easy. But I don't think that's really the choice. Like my luck, I would get like a claw. Like, then that guy wouldn't be able to hold or paint things. I'm just like, well, your muscles are too goofy. You're gonna have to use the claw. You'd never be able to use the robot hand. That's the fear. So that's why I don't just, cut my fingers off and replace them with the robot hand in the event that anyone was wondering. It's gone through my head, thought about it. Not for me. I'll stick with analog. That's all I've ever heard is everyone saying it's like the most dangerous thing. Yeah, I can't stress from even on paper, like, I'm just like, man, yeah, that could definitely help me, like, do a whole lot of work really fast. And it's like, but I feel like that's a rash decision, and whoever designed it also made a very rash decision. Like, I feel like there were other options, and they were like, fuck it, table saw, design's not broken, let's just make it smaller. And I'm like, man, that's really dangerous. Like, essentially, you're just choosing to make a tool exponentially more dangerous, which is kind of like, I don't have a chainsaw, but I have I call it the chain halberd. Uh, it's for like cutting down like tree branches. I'm not grabbing it. I'm just gonna grab this guy. So this is the vise that I have currently. I used this a lot with the stuff I used to do, where pretty much I would have to clamp a piece of very thin metal, and then I would take diamond files and I would shave them down. That's how I did swords and stuff out of brass swords, just a thin sheet of brass on here, and then diamond files to give it shape. I don't think this has a brand of any kind on it, but it's just very workhorse kind of tool. And what I'm getting is much more specialized for my really small stuff. So I'm very excited. And again, very reasonably priced. So I'm really excited to get it in and actually put it through its paces, give a proper review. Yeah, so the Paramore, I used the Barbie hair for the fingers as well. And I did not want to do that because they are going to be kind of different in how they look, especially the hands. I kind of want to show with Grief what it would look like if it still had its own skin. Because the Paramore just wears a bunch of other skins. Out of a pole saw. Yeah, pole saw. Chain halberd, pole saw. Pole saw just doesn't sound as fun, but yeah, that's what I was talking about. I completely forgot. Thank you, Possum. The pole saw. I really like it because essentially it's taking the design of a chainsaw. And you're like, man, what's the most dangerous thing about the chainsaw? And you're like, oh, it's definitely the chain. Like, the amount of like people that I have talked to, they're like, oh yeah, whenever I put an axe into my leg, unintentionally, a lot of people are like, oh man, yeah, you got to be careful. Like, you're lucky it wasn't a chainsaw. Like, I know so many people that have, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yeah, at this point, I know a lot of people that have almost died because of doing what I did with my axe, but with a chainsaw. And I'm just like, yeah, no, thank you. So I really like the pole saw because it's essentially like you take a chainsaw and you put it on a stick. So you're taking the danger for the wielder out of, like, it's like, man, yeah, it exponentially lowers how dangerous it is for the person who is holding it. And essentially you are borrowing that from everyone around you. It is exponentially more dangerous for everyone in the vicinity with you than it is for yourself versus a regular chainsaw, because it's like, oh yeah, that's a chainsaw on a stick. Like, be really careful when you turn around, man. Make sure that thing's turned off. That's just kind of funny observation. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's way safer for me. You need to stay inside though. Chainsaw on a stick. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Is it an Astraman glaive? There's something in Horse Heresy that the Night Lords use that is just a chain halberd. It might be an Astraman chain halberd. I could look, but not right now. We're working on grief. Grief. Fingies. Trying to keep it nice and tight around this piece of wire. Because it's round, it wants to kind of move around on me. So, there we go. No. Boop. 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 Just made eye contact with the gauge sticker again while I'm doing this. Just look up and you just... Classic. 9:01. Damn, we lost an hour already. An hour on hands. Well, I got some nails in the hands. I'm working on the fingers. The fingers are going to take a bit. It's just way more down in it. There's really no other way that I can think of to really kind of get it on there other than using just the skin, but I really wanted to put a little bit of a layer in between there to add some depth. And also, I don't think the paper that I'm going to be using for its skin, I don't know how well. It's going to be probably too flat, and I really kind of want to put a little bit of meat around these bones, which that's essentially what I am doing. To fully explain that, I am building this almost like bones, then meat, and then skin. And that is kind of how I built the Paramore and the others, just doing layers, working on, working on them as they go. That way they could all be done somewhat around the same time. And by done, I mean finished in time, and they were not. I was working on them literally at Visterion. And people were like, what the hell is that? I'm like, don't look at it. Shh, it's a secret. Little bit of clay. Yeah. Am I still on the screen? Yeah. Right there. Oh, geez, it's break time. You're right. That was. Okay, I am going to stop here. I'm not going to stop. I'll go to the BRB screen. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Go to the BRB screen. I'll be right back. I'm going to go pee. A 9 hour or 9 o'clock pee. I've got a 9 o'clock pee. I gotta hop on that real quick. I'll be right back. My 9 o'clock. Oh boy. All right. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Also, thank you, Possum. I was absolutely going to not take a break. Good catch. Pop these gloves back on. Honestly, don't think I need that other glove. But this one, I'm definitely going to use. Stupid hands. Man, I got real scared the other day. I thought that I messed my hand up real bad. I closed a door. Not on it. You would think that was what I did. But it absolutely had to have been a nerve. Like I pinched the nerve real bad. But I closed the door and my thumb like overextended. Man, that finger's looking real. That shape is just real good. I really like that. It's a very, yeah, those bends. And that's why I didn't want to just put the skin on, because I don't want to lose those really awful upsetting knuckles, which I put the bends in the wire to try and emulate. And I definitely probably will go over with either some green stuff, some epoxy green, or just the skin, the paper, which I'm really debating. I think I want to go, I think with grief, I think we want to kick it up a notch, and I think I want to do a very transparent, like so. Instead of using the brown paper that I normally use, I will use white. So it will be much more like paper mache over top almost, very wet, translucent. And the reason that I do that versus just glue for these is it's going to be coming off. The glue technique only really works if the skin is supposed to be attached. But if you have paper that you use, that is how I did the skin on the Paramore and the Child Inverted. It's a big part of my aesthetic, which I'm sure someone else will claim that they came up with. But what can you do about that? Yeah. That. Yep, there we go. Gotta get more Nivea. Which that is absolutely, if you're looking for a lubricant for your tools, that is the go-to for me. That is absolutely a Modern Synthesis, Mr. Pink, my buddy Nick recommendation. Same thing with Epoxy Sculpt. I did not mess with Epoxy Sculpt. I pretty much did everything with green stuff for years. And I cannot stress how big of a difference I think cutting it with Epoxy Sculpt makes. It makes working with it so much easier, because you get clay that actually works like clay, whereas green stuff really kind of functions like chewing gum, which is why it's so good at holding detail. But it makes it really frustrating to sculpt in if you're sculpting in pure green stuff, because it just does not act like how you would typically expect it to, at least for me. But then on top of that, you get the ability to sand it, which you cannot do with green stuff. If you try to sand green stuff, it will feather. And it will not hold. Essentially, you will remove all of the detail. Like, there's no way to do that and keep it looking like you want it to the moment you touch it with sandpaper. It'll get very, very, very rough. And sometimes that's what you want, but almost always not. Very rarely have I ever been like, man, I need to mess that green stuff up and make it look worse. Sometimes, though. Ooh, boy. Grief, grief, grief. Yep, there we go. It's coming off the one I just touched. Putting clay around fingers. This is also partially why I just super glued hair. It's less control, but also easier, but I'm not doing that. We're not taking any quick ways out with Mr. Grief. Come on, get on the wire. Alrighty. Another little snip off here. I think maybe I need to do that. I think that would probably be a better way to work at this. Starting at the bottom and working my way up. That way I don't touch anything else. And I probably should have done that. I'll do that on the other hand. I bet that would make it go faster and more efficient to avoid accidentally booping one of the other digits that I've already touched. Trying to make sure that I stay in the square that I know the camera is as well. Nope. Not wet enough. Yeah, the moment that you start to feel it clinging to the tool, that is nature's sign that you need to get your tool wetter. Oh, grief. You and your little goofy feet. They just look like a sack of broken potatoes currently. Damn it. Come on. Also, to be fully just, transparent, I probably should have covered these in super glue prior to doing that. And I think maybe I did that with the Paramore. I don't remember. I think that was actually just a natural byproduct of how the Paramore was made, as its fingers were drenched in super glue. Also, they were pipe cleaners. I did not have a need to use pipe cleaners because I kind of already knew the shape, but that was a big part of why the Paramore's hands were initially made. Damn it, okay. You're about to get some super glue. Because it does not have anything to grip on. But putting super glue on there will essentially remove that issue of it being too smooth. Because pretty much what I'm doing here is having to wrap it around there entirely and let it connect with the other part of the glue once it's gone, full circle, to try and keep it on there. because that piece of metal is too slick. So we'll probably do that on the other one. But yeah, so the paramour, I made its hands using the same technique that most stop motion animators use when they make a stop motion animation puppet or doll. And that is by taking burned pipe cleaners and making a little hand out of those. And it makes it to where you have a very sturdy and very bendable, like I can change the shape of the paramour's hands whenever I want to. I don't think I ever will, but it was very handy for dialing in the exact hand movement and shape that I wanted while building, and then even further when painting. If there were any issues, like, oh, okay, well, because the fingers can move, I was actually able to like move the digits if they got in the way of each other while painting it. This is not going to be the case, but that's because it's using its hands to pretty much hold it in place. So that's why we are not doing anything crazy and having, workable hands. Yeah, you give Grief hands that can like do things, the next thing you know, he's just making puppets. We can't have that. Grief loves puppets. His favorite trick is going up and spilling his insides out to people. That's why he's hollow. But it's Grief jokes. That's a commentary on me for anyone who met me at Adepticon. Okay. Yep. Okay. That's good. Yeah, these are great. These are great fingers. They look exactly how I was wanting them to. Just need to put the skin on now. Very spider-like. Spider-like emaciated that are not anatomically correct. That's a key part. It needs to look very wrong, but it has to have enough in common with the thing that you're trying to make people reference. That's a key thing. Having a good knowledge of biology or nature, anatomy is very handy because it allows you to play in that space of horror in a way that people who do not cannot. That's where subliminal kind of stuff, a lot of symbolic horror really kind of comes in. It's using things in a way that people will be very clearly like, I don't know why this makes me uncomfortable, but it does. It's because it plays on things that are very set in your mind in a particular way. But when you take that and you put it on something that does not fit or make sense. It creates the same kind of concept or reaction that the uncanny valley does. That's pretty much what you're going for in a lot of horror work, is you're trying to add uncanniness to really make the viewer think about it. At least me. That's a key point to my art, which is wonderful. I thought about this the other day. By the other day, I mean yesterday. But it's just, it is really wonderful to finally have people appreciate my work as art, as opposed to just, well, it's just little toys. Because that has been my goal since I started, is to use the medium of tabletop gaming as like my safe place, stuff like self-expression. So yeah, thank you guys for making me feel seen. Man, okay. We are kind of running into some issues here where we're seeing why Eli always says, man, people who do multiple things and multiple layers are crazy. I can't work like that. This is why, because you got to watch your hands every step of the way, and the moment you mess up and don't, you are going to have to go back and you're going to have to clean some things up, because you're definitely going to be touching what you shouldn't have been. And that is what I'm doing right now. Fixing my mistake. My mistake was the touching it, not grief. You're great. Yeah, bringing up speed. The Extinct or Alive. I was very excited. Your boy's still out there kissing crocodiles and stuff. I got worried. I was like, does he not kiss the animals now before he lets them go? Because like if they were like, Forrest, you can't be kissing these super dangerous animals, I would kiss him even harder if I was him. I'd be like, you're gonna tell me I can't kiss a crocodile? Watch this. I'd kiss crocodile every episode. Weaponize your kisses. Yeah. When we watched yesterday, we found this giant soft-shelled turtle. And then one after that, it was a caiman, the Agripopo. It's not Agrippina, but I won't say the Agripopo. Agrippina's a 4-year-old. Get back here. Okay, come on. Okay. Let's just push it down, make it round. Trim me down, make me round. It's a reference to the SpongeBob episode, the Halloween episode, where he scares everybody by dressing up like the Flying Dutchman. Shade me down, make me round. Yep, okay, there we go. Oh gosh, yeah, that looks good. all thought you wouldn't get a SpongeBob episode reference today. Psh, never. Every day. Ah. Come on, Eli. Actually, at this point, you all might just know you're going to get a SpongeBob reference no matter what. Good on you. Back to the grind. Aw. Well, good luck, Possum, and Godspeed. Thank you for hanging out and keeping me company. Do. There we go. Ugh, that looks awful. Always. Have a good day, Possum. I thought so. I was like, I'm pretty sure there was more clay on that side. There is. It went around. It's hanging down. Stop it. Okay. Again, this is not the final layer. It will have a different appearance. This is just getting the clay on there so I can move forward. I'm not actually leaving. I'm just going back to work. Oh, well, wonderful. Well, good. Stick around. Alrighty. I'm trying to make sure I'm not just sculpting in silence. Man, okay, yeah. Whew. I'm loving the fingers. They are very, very creepy. Very spider-like. Very not normal. What is normal? I mean, how do we know grief's not completely normal and we're wrong? and there. Yeah. Stop it. Okay, good. That one's a little thicker than I want it to be. It is a index finger though. Not that that makes any difference. Oh, and it's on its side. It's from the top down. It's normal. Yeah, I forgot that finger's bent. Ooh, okay. Yep, that's awful. Those are awful fingers. Awful fingers. Okay. Awful fingers. Grebo, you doing good? Mm-hmm. Doing good. That looks good. Printing some towers. Oh, only 13 hours, 41 minutes until that's done. 13 hours till the other's done. Sweet. So yeah, I'm thinking we might be able to do some Rothenberg if I can, for some reason, paint like an insane person tomorrow. But it'll probably next week. Yeah, it'll be next week. I don't want to rush that at all. And I'm going to be doing grief on the stream, so. Okay. Now, other hand. I kind of want to. No, Eli, you almost did it. You need to put that finger on there before you put any more wood because of where it is. Almost. Okay. So again, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not touching anything that I've already worked on. So that hand is going to be over there. Yeah, hey, I'm still in the frame. Sweet. That one's going to probably be a little bit trickier to get perfectly right because of that ball there, which was supposed to be filler, but I might end up taking that out or turning that into another spike. It's probably going to be the second. Where'd my water go? It's behind me. There we go. I was talking with a friend yesterday about our regional game days and how I feel they aren't conductive to narrative play. They often are simply play 3 games in a day, sans central story. Any thoughts on how to push a more story-driven focus? My initial thought was creating a central narrative focal point when you push players. So that's yes. I think and it has to, I really can't stress, the biggest thing is if everyone is on board and actually wants narrative, they do have to do some work. And like know who their characters are. That's the key thing with narrative play, is you have to make characters to play in the space, because if you don't know who they are and what they would do, that's the biggest thing. But yes, the main way would be, that's a very good topic, thank you. The best way to get everybody like focused on narrative and telling a story is to have them have characters that are defined as far as It doesn't have to be the whole character, but at least you should know the group's overall what it wants, and have some kind of idea. I really think, like for 30K, obviously you can't make every single Space Marine in the squad a living, breathing character. You could name them all, but it's just that's an insane amount of work. So with mine, like my Emperor's Children, there's an overarching theme of like what the whole group is doing, but each of the sergeants, and see, the Emperor's Children are a very good one to use for this because their entire MO is essentially a cult of personality. They all are vying to live up to the Phoenix, the Phoenician. They want to be these larger than life characters. So they have all these obsessions. They have all these very clear individual personalities. And those that are similar flock to each other. So you have like groups like the Cacophony, and then all kinds of other equivalents. That's just the first one that comes to mind. Same thing with the I think they can. I think there's interest, but I don't know if there's any push, not just play to bash face or whatever. That's it. So that is it. Because I also have been through that, where it's just like I am really willing to put down, the time to make a really good campaign story. But I think that the difference is, and that's kind of, sorry, the difference is trying to explain that you won't know how to make your character like more narrative driven. It's just because it's just an entirely different way of playing the game, and they don't really have a set way typically explained in books. The easiest answer is like they do have to do some work, and they have to define who their character is, and they have to believe that it's a character themselves, and that they are controlling their actions, and they are, because that's where the reward comes from. The reward comes from knowing who a character is, knowing what they want, and then letting the game unfold and essentially happen to those characters, and knowing enough like what they would do in that situation. And that's how you get those kind of moments that are just absolutely incredible. Yeah, like, and that does happen naturally in the course of games, just, chance, but it doesn't happen nearly enough to like build your whole like collective group around. The prime example being there was the last game that Ed and I played. One of his breachers, it was a breacher. One of his breachers watched Teus, my dreadnought, rip a squad of Terminators apart with its bare hands, and then proceed to run into the breachers and just start ripping them apart and throwing them all over the place. And this dude just he rolled double ones on his morale like 3 times in a row. He was not leaving. That guy, there was something clearly like he was like, I'm gonna kill this dreadnought. And that is a really fun, I really liked that. But that kind of stuff can only happen naturally with dice rolls and whatnot so many times to like help you build that story. But going in with characters defined and having them have actual personalities, at least in your head, or an overall personality that you would want the group to be trying to achieve, that is the first step. And the more you do that, the more that your players do that, the more they will get out of any game if it's narrative. And it's the same thing as like when you play a video game. Like, at what point does it become a first-person shooter that's just a, Call of Duty clone or whatever? And when does it like branch into something else to where it becomes like a first-person shooter that actually has story? It just takes, you have to build the characters. And it's why in horror movies, in order to really drive horror home, the characters have to be fleshed out. If they are just people that are unbelievable, then the story is just kind of unbelievable. I don't remember. Oh yeah, prime example of that. The shit. What was that movie I just watched that I really did not care for because it just made me think of the others? I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, it's essentially the characters were so unrealistic that I could not get into the story because it was just too unbelievable. And it's the same concept. If you make believable characters that, and by believable, I mean that exist in that world. Grief is not something that's, you know, real in our world. Well, that's debatable, I suppose. Uh, but like I know what this thing wants because I know what kind of awful jokes it has. It's like a part of me pulled out of my subconscious, so I know how to handle any narrative game that's put in, no matter what the universe is, because I know what this thing is and I know what it wants, and I know its purpose essentially, and that purpose is its personality. It is, that made flesh. So even like something like this giant, awful, demonic monstrosity, I can give emotion to, and story can form from that. And that is just the most pivotal part of narrative play, which is why you see in RPGs, role playing groups, it's the same thing. The more defined that your character is, the more backstory you give, the more you are likely to really enjoy your time with the game. Because I say it all the time, it's like the goose flail. You get in what you put out, or you get out what you put in. You get in what you put out. So, well, and that too. I mean, if you're putting out that kind of stuff, if you put in the time to show, oh yeah, I did all this stuff, and I didn't mean to go there, but that's exactly what I did with mine. Essentially coming up with lore for my Emperor's Children, and sharing that with my friends. It doesn't make people automatically able to just, they're going to get it, but it plants a seed. And the more that they work on that, the more it's just anything else. It takes practice, using a muscle to build up those skills, and that whether that's mentally or physically. And just like muscles, a lot of that time it means tearing down what was there so it can be remade. And I don't mean that like physically. You got to tear it down. Like, we don't play games like that anymore. It's just the more you try to put what you're wanting into it and make a point to really that be your focus, the more it naturally will slowly start. And it's funny because Sam is a role-playing character first and foremost, so he really needs that to play games, which is just wonderful. But I know he often is like, sorry, I'm just trying to piece together this, blah, 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 and he'll pause and just kind of talk about, what's going on in the game, and he's like, I'm trying to think of what my characters would do, and it's just like, that is such a good, like, I love that, and it's just so different from any other, like, people that I've really played tabletop games with, especially when it comes to skirmish games, and that's mainly what I'm talking about, like right here. A skirmish game where it's not part of the game, but it's part of what you all are trying to do with the game, is to add narrative to it. And essentially that's role-playing. Adding characters to where you are making the choices that they make and accepting, like, how they interact with the world. The more you do that, the more you put in, the more you will get out. And that's why it wasn't is that what they want? It's more of I think that's just, and I'm not trying to summarize it. If anyone has any other ways of expressing what I'm saying, it's just, I think it just depends. Because there's definitely people that only like horror movies for the gore. And it's just like, that's not even remotely, ironically, you would think with a name like RedWetSkeleton and the amount of gore and nightmare stuff that I make, uh, it's not just gore. That's a byproduct, but horror is the focus, and that it depends. There's just so many different ways to do things. So many different ways to do things. So many people want different things out of what they're doing. That's my point of that, and why I went back to horror. But yeah, I think it really depends. Um, but the first thing is to make sure that they want that, and they want to put forth that effort, because that is essential to making a narrative game. And not everyone has to do it, because you can definitely play a narrative game without anyone doing that. It will be more difficult, and it will be harder for them to understand, because if they aren't playing characters, if they're just playing models, and they're playing a game first and foremost, I think that's it. Ed and I, we would talk about let's play some 30K, but we were not just playing 30K. We were wanting to tell a story first and foremost when we sit down. There we go. That's it. It's intent. It's intent. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Intent. If you want to tell a story, you will be able to tell kind of pretty quickly on, like, who's on the same page and who's not, because a story does not have a winner, like, factually. It's a story. No one wins in a story. It's a thing that almost kind of happens without your intervention. And I think fully understanding that and being able to break down, and the rules can absolutely be there to help that, but they also can absolutely hinder that. And I mean that in the way of, like, stifling creativity. There's so many rule sets that the more, and game groups, there's so many gaming groups that look at things in a black and white. The rules are this, the rules are that. You can't do that thing. The more of that's okay. Like, that's okay to do, but the more that you stifle individual choice, and autonomy, the harder time I think that you will have experiencing a narrative game in the way that I think the 28 community does. And that's really a big part of that, I think, is so many, and not everybody, because there are absolutely some, like, not rules lawyers, but, like, they love crunch. They love crunch in their rules. That being crunch, being like hard set rules, not fluff, as in, like, just lore, for those of you who do not know. They like crunch in their rules to where it's, like, very rule driven, and it tells you exactly what you can and can't do. But they actually are still able to say, yeah, those are the rules. Now let's take a moment and kind of, like, try to work out what actually that means symbolically, story-wise, like why that's working. And the biggest part of that is if there is a rule that interferes with a story part. If your goal is to tell a story, that's not even an issue. You could make it one, but if the goal is storytelling, then rules are second, in my very firm opinion. Story is first, rules are second. And that fully tracks into I would rather lose a game and have an amazing story, like, that I could walk away and, like, remember, like, fully remember, versus I played a game and I don't remember any of it, but I won. And it's just like, that doesn't feel like winning to me, because nothing's changed. Like, my time. I like to tell stories. So I definitely look for that personally. But I think it's all about looking for a story actively. Active. Everyone needs to be an active participant for a story to form naturally. And the easiest way to do that is for them to have a little bit of a story when they go into it. I think that is a summary of that tangent. But that would be my number one tip, is have them come up with their own narrative for their group or for their gang or their characters, and know it. Like, I think the biggest thing is, personally, I don't like to, when I see a group, especially in like 30K, we'll take that example because it's an easy one. So in the Imperial Fists in 30K, there's a whole group called the Templar Order, or, the Templar Brotherhood. I don't remember which one it is, but that's eventually where we get the Black Templars from. I really like the concept, but I don't want to be limited in how I depict that. So while you could just grab that group and try to make them, or like any other first company in a Space Marine chapter, you'd be like, oh, they're veterans. I mean, they're veterans, but what have they done? Like, that is the key. Like, you can put a label on and a theme to an army, but that doesn't give it a story. A theme is not a story. A theme is just a theme. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, I think that really long roundabout answer is have them work on their own stories and see if they enjoy that, and if they enjoy coming up with a story for them, then I think they will enjoy watching what happens, because that, I think, is where the magic of tabletop gaming comes in. And I think especially with characters that can quote unquote die, like if something happens and that model stops being in the game because of what happened, that story and that character is gone, which means that they were alive. That's the thing. Death is a reminder that something was alive. And a character, it sucks to lose a character that you put time and stuff into, but that's kind of life. And that is where I think storytelling, it just all goes back to that. Why do we tell stories? But yeah, a lot of food for thought. As far as how do they come up with their own story, that is difficult. And that, depending on what kind of characters, kind of stories you're wanting to tell, that is a really never-ending topic, because there's just so many ways to generate concepts really quick, and there's so many good materials out there. Like for grimdark stuff, man, holy shit, it's 9:55. Also, I can tell it's getting late because this epoxy sculpt is getting a little not soft, which means I might have made too much, or it's going to have to go in the freezer. Yeah, because I do have a hard stop at 10. I got a hard stop at 10. I have to get ready for an eye appointment. But yeah, that was a long tangent. Sorry about that. And that's not shooting down anyone's creativity by any means. It's different people think differently. So some people, it just comes a lot easier naturally. I can't not put story in things. But I know, because of trying to have a gaming group that was like that, when I go, play 28 stuff, it's just so wonderful coming back. And then it's just like, oh, okay, no one else plays like this. I remember now. And I'm not saying like recent, I'm saying like years ago. But yeah, it's just you have to make sure that everyone is on the same page and everybody wants to put forth that effort, because if anybody does not, it is only going to take away from it. And that's not to be like, oh, exclude people, but it's just there's different kinds of gaming groups. Some gaming groups just want to play a game, and some people really want to get into, I want to tell a story, and I'm letting pretty much fate decide what happens. Very, very good example of that from a 28 event would be not this year Adepticon, but the year before, the Algonquin. My cult leader was pretty much getting ready to die along with the rest of his entire group when a giant like orbital that they were on was like destroyed. But in a last like ditch effort, I was like, God, I don't even know what to do. And Adam was just like, could he throw? Could he like try to throw himself like his like essence? And sure enough, like we were like, yeah. I mean, he does a lot of like telepathic, some witch kind of stuff. So instead of him just being dead, it's just like, yeah, there was this little goofy guy on the board that Vince made, Dark Tech, and pretty much my cult leader, we were like, okay, let's roll a psychic test. Like we did like a thing that he had to roll on to see if he could do it. But it's just like, yeah, as a last ditch effort, the character's still removed from the game. But the story that came out of that is essentially it's just like he sees this happening, he throws his spirit out into this little thing's body, like pretty much possesses it, and then just kind of crawls into an air vent and just goes to do his own thing. But it's just like that character's still out there. And it's just like, what's he been up to? So it's just things like that are very. If you have people that are there to tell the story, it naturally comes. So I think that's the easiest way to do it is to try to start doing it, try to inject a little bit more narrative gameplay, and then just build from there. But I think going straight into it's just narrative, it definitely is hard, and I don't want that to seem disparaging to anybody, because it's just a different way to how the games are presented. And the easiest way from that really is taking inspiration from other storytellers. Not saying steal, but when you look at like what does a good story need, the objectives kind of just like pull themselves out. And the more real the characters are, the more you know, because what would you do? Or what's the difference between you and that character? So you kind of know what they would do. A reference point. There we go. That's an easy way to summarize what I'm saying. And the best reference is start with characters for a story. Long tangent, but I think there was probably some words of wisdom in there. Yeah, this is getting too hard. It's getting too dry. But it is 10 o'clock, so I am going to stop here. I'm going to finish pushing this down. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. Awesome. And Kyle, thank you guys so much. Always wonderful to have people in the chat to talk to while I work. It helps me not just go inaudible and just hyper focus. So I gotta stop, but I really don't want to. Come on. Just want to get that knuckle in. Then I'll stop. There we go. Yep. Yeah, it's getting too dry. It's not sticking the way I want, but it is sticking, and that's not good. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about all I'm gonna have time for today. So yeah, we got one of the hands done. The second hand started on. Gosh, that looks like shit. I gotta stretch that out. Okay, for real now though. Stop. Eli, you gotta stop. Okay, I gotta stop. Okay, well, I'm gonna go put this in the freezer so it stays as good as it can. I'm not really feeling confident that it won't just be a waste. I made too much. I thought, hey, we're gonna knock a whole bunch out, and I don't even know what the hell I was gonna do with this. So, thank you so much for your time. It means the world to me, like for real. Again, it's your greatest commodity. And the fact that you spent it with me truly means the world to me. So yeah, take care of yourselves, be good to yourself and to each other, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay pretty. I'll see you later. Take care, friends.